Okay, welcome to the Port Huron statement. So, I guess we're going to begin a new phase in the show where it's clear that we're going to have to transition into, well, let's just go with this. This isn't a podcast about dark truths. This is about how truth itself has been weaponized. How the most horrifying realities have been wrapped in aesthetic irony and voyeurism until outrage became porn and porn became normal. There's a reason you've heard about Epstein 1,000 times, but you've never heard about why those networks exist in the first place. There's a reason you know the names, but not the architecture. This show isn't here to scare you. It's here to end the trance. It's here to help you stop playing dead. You already know what I'm talking about. You felt it, the unease that doesn't go away, the headlines that make no sense, the stories that slip into view only to be buried by silence. You've seen the whispers, the sealed court files, the missing kids, the photo ops with monsters dressed as philanthropists. You've heard the excuses, the misdirections, the expert panels meant to tell you it's nothing, that you imagined it. But you didn't imagine it. You saw it, you just weren't given the language for it. So I'll give it to you now. Not just what's happening, but why it's happening. Because that's what they never want you to ask or to learn. It's by design. The content, child abuse, war crimes, cults, trafficking, should provoke decisive moral clarity. But instead, it's digested like content, repackaged as edgelord aesthetic, turned into dopamine drip-fed horror. Rage porn. It's not infotainment anymore. It's neuro-linguistic anesthesia with a trauma fetish overlay. You're witnessing atrocity pornography, and not just the kind that comes from fringe circles. The mainstream helps package it. Algorithms prioritize it, influencers monetize it, think tanks sanitize it, and intelligence agencies, they create it, they embed with it, and they use it. Let's begin here, because it all begins here. Trauma is a tool of control. It's not just what happens when things go wrong, it's what happens when somebody wants to control you and knows exactly how to do it using psychology. In military operations, trauma fractures resistance. In cults, it binds followers to leaders using shame dynamics. In intelligence programs, it scrambles memory, creates compartmentalization, loyalty, obedience. In religion, they use the promise of heaven or the fear of hell. And when it's used on children, you don't just shape behavior, you can reshape identity. You can make someone into a puppet. You don't just shape their behavior, you shape their identity. A child doesn't have the walls that adults do. They trust, they imprint, they split when hurt deeply enough. And if that hurt is repeated, if it's systematically applied, you don't raise a person, you can raise a program. This isn't mysticism, it's engineering. It's been documented, studied, and replicated for decades. It's not a fringe tactic, it's core infrastructure on how to control people and how power protects itself. Here's the next question. If this is true, why doesn't anybody see it? The answer is almost too elegant in its cruelty. It's not really being hidden. They saturate the field. They bury the signal in noise. You can't tell what's real and fake because they're layered into one another. They give you obvious villains with cartoonish traits until the real monsters seem fake or seem like allies. They flood you with conspiracies, real and false, until truth becomes a flavor, a choice, a culture, a tribe. Not something knowable, but something that you pick based on the people around you's insistence. And meanwhile, corporate media ignores what they can't control. Academia buries the rest in abstraction. Social media incentivizes outrage, but not clarity or action. Social media lives on outrage, but not clarity or action in response to that outrage. And the algorithms, they reward the division, and they create the echo chambers. You're not meant to arrive at truth. You're meant to circle the drain until you're too exhausted to ask again. Now let's talk about the scale. This isn't just about elites on yachts. It's not just Epstein and secret files in government buildings and mansions. It's in this town. It's the child services office that loses track of hundreds of kids over decades. It's the school board that covers for a long-time volunteer. It's the judge who never recuses, the donor no one questions. It's your coworker's daughter who stopped talking. It's the story that never made the paper 1,000 times over. It's the case that got suppressed in the district court because the system works best locally. You don't need an international conspiracy when a predator can operate with protection from the sheriff, from a lawyer, and from the church board. But it doesn't stop there. Those stories feed up into networks. Networks feed into blackmail files. Blackmail turns into leverage, and leverage becomes extortion, silence, and control. And that silence becomes funding, power, immunity. The global system doesn't replace the local. It grows from it. Like mold, like rot, quiet and everywhere. It seeds a system of exploitation, and it grows from the local exploitation. This is the part that people want to turn off, but you shouldn't. Ask yourself why, children. Why this line? Why this horror? Because it works. Children haven't yet formed the inner barriers that adults use to compartmentalize harm. That makes them perfect subjects for anyone trying to destroy boundaries, disrupt cognition, break will, and ultimately puppet someone. In sexual trauma, it hijacks the entire nervous system. It overrides logic, language, and time by manipulating shame. It's not about pleasure, it's about power, total mind-altering control and domination. If you want a future population that is dissociated, easily redirected, desperate for protection, confused about identity, fragmented in memory, this is how you create it. This is how you create a politically malleable society. You start with kids, and then you build your culture on top of their silence, their abuse, the suppression, the manipulation, the coercion. They become learned helpless. There's no one to help or protect them but the abusers themselves. So they learn to be helpless and to be silent. You think this system just harms its victims, but it doesn't. It recruits them. Those who survive often face two paths: speak and be crushed, or adapt and be used. Many whistleblowers disappear, discredited by this system, or they are forced to live in exile from their own lives. But others get absorbed into military programs, intelligence services, media empires, activists, non-profits, controlled opposition, religious entities and cults, high control groups of every kind, and corporate agendas. Because if you've been broken early and you want structure, meaning, or just safety, these systems are waiting with open arms. And that's what they're designed to do. Give you the veneer of safety and comfort when it's actually only offering more control and manipulation. And over time, some of those people become enforcers, influencers, handlers, even perhaps architects and controllers themselves. This isn't supernatural, it's psychological. It's been studied, modeled, iterated for generations, and now it's woven into the very institution you've been told to trust. Here's the hardest part. Most people can't face this, not because they're blind, but because they're already broken. This entire society runs on low-grade trauma, debt, stress, surveillance, violence, betrayal, and most people cope by clinging to whatever story feels safe, sanitized. Because the truth is, you're getting betrayed by people that you know for almost no reason. The enforced scarcity has created motivations that are difficult to predict, but they are rarely rational, and that's the goal, is to keep you irrational and keep you just listening to whatever advice and whatever social connection you've been conditioned to trust. If you tell the truth, you're not giving them information, you're threatening their entire defense mechanism. So they fight you. They call you crazy. They call you dangerous. They say that could never happen here. They say you're being dramatic. They try and get you committed or arrested. Because if they believed you, they'd have to relive everything they spent their lives trying to forget. So why now? Why say this now? Because the game is shifting. The tools that were once exclusive to power are beginning to leak. People are waking up, and patterns are becoming harder to bury. But they're also being hidden more cleverly. AI, open source network, whistleblowers, it's no longer a closed system, but the power of AI is also a power of simulacrum, the ability to create a narrative that seems real but is false. And that's the biggest threat that we face right now, is that AI and other mechanisms of control create a reality that's difficult to discern from reality, a simulacrum. Or AI could give us the freedom to access information more freely and potentially overwhelm this hierarchical and destructive system. And that's the hope. And the hope is so because it is possible to undo this. In fact, it must happen. This planet can't maintain this level of destructive mismanagement. And some of the people that helped build this system, they are palpably scared. Some are flipping. I have actually gotten a surprising number of people to start informing to me about this local cabal of exploitation. It's fascinating. Former cops, current cops. It's bad. Some are trying to burn it all down before it consumes them too. We're not here to panic. We're here to orient and maybe, just maybe, prepare to build something better. We need to stop pretending this isn't real, because it is. From Jonestown to North Fox Island to Christians for a New Tomorrow, it's very real. Start talking not out of fear and not from a position of deceit, but just coherently and honestly and openly. Pay attention and trust yourself, even trust your intuition. Pay attention to who gets protected and who gets punished, because that is a key to who you can trust. Controlled opposition is very real. There are a lot of people that will pretend like they are on the side of righteousness, but in fact aren't. It's important also not to fight each other, but to fight this crooked system. People can change and should be encouraged to. Some people are just scared. So we shouldn't condemn people, but we do need to condemn this system of exploitation and all of the organizations that have been built to serve it. And there are many of those organizations, not just built to serve it, but also that have been captured in the pursuit of the persistence of this type of exploitive endeavor. I'm talking about the positioning of like-minded individuals at assorted institutions and other organizations, bureaucracies, agencies, etc., that are in fact allegiant to a system that isn't explicit, that above their governmental role or social role, there is another agenda which is hidden from the public and hidden from you, which is to reinforce and protect this hierarchy in exchange for some form of fringe benefit or direct profit. There's a ton, and actually these are the people that flip first, the people that are getting paid trivial amounts of money to stalk, pursue, harass, because ultimately they're poor people too that are just trying to survive. And so you'd be surprised how many people have gotten scared and just told me things that were gang stalking me. I have a lot of access to information, and I've developed a lot of AI shit, and so I can track a lot of these people simultaneously. It's gotten very weird, but yeah. One of the most important things is, too, and I don't have any kids, but you have to protect your kids. Like, we can't live in a society where kids keep getting fucked over. Like, why is this even possible? It should be a natural, evolutionary characteristic for you to protect your children. And for those of you that exploit them, because there's a lot of you, and I don't know, I mean, obviously many of you are watching because I know this doesn't apply to everyone, but you should know that you've been behavior modified if You are finding allegiance in people while fucking over your immediate family. I guess that should tell you that you are actually a victim yourself, because for someone to trick you that well, it should be obvious, but people really value the money. It's not real, but it's a construct that's meant to reinforce hierarchical power, but because people believe it's real, it becomes real, which is an interesting example of the subjective influencing the objective. But the fact is money at this point, being divorced from the gold standard, is essentially a construct exclusively of hierarchical control. So prioritizing money over, say, your family is sociopathic and absurd. But, that's the whole point, is to convince you to modify your behavior in pursuit of something sociopathic and absurd, and to condition you to prioritize those things instead of anything that would make you harder to control. Because if you value money, and money effectively isn't attached to any real resource, they can give you an infinite amount of money without really giving you any real resource. So money is the perfect fucking resource to motivate people with, because it's infinite. I mean, 97% of the money that's circulating in the country is essentially loaned. You should look into the Federal Reserve. I highly suggest that you do, because it will illuminate for you how the money actually works. And yeah, we don't need a singular hero. I don't want to be a hero. I could be a leader, but I don't even care about that. We just need a populace that finally understands the game and refuses to play it by these bullshit rules, because they're destroying our entire society, civilization, and our planet. And it's not accidental. It's not mismanagement. It's intentional. It's a design system of exploitation that also produces an enormous amount of waste and produces an enormous amount of CO2 and mismanages everything. I mean, it'd be one thing if they were managing the planet well, but they're going to destroy the planet in short order for this shit. No, it's stupid. You can't let a planet collapse so that people can control and exploit one another using child sex trafficking. That's fucking stupid. So let's not do that, and let's start here with truth, and let's move forward, because the future is all that matters. All right. Good talk.